My name is Beagle Genesis, representing Flooristas here in Orlando, Florida.
Awesome. So, B-Girl Genesis, can you explain a little bit like where that name came from? Was that a name given to you, or is that something that you earned over time?
For me, it was different. I actually gave that name to myself, and I know it's not traditional to do that. Typically, someone who mentors you will give you your name, but I felt like during a transition period in my time that I was going through a new chapter in my life, and I really wanted to shed my old, past and start all over, and actually became Beagle Genesis when I relocated to Arizona years back when I was living in Virginia Beach. I decided to move to Arizona, and I felt like that was a time that I needed to definitely start fresh. And Genesis is the beginning, and I felt like I was on a new beginning in my life.
So, everybody knows you as the B-Girl. Like, we've seen you around. Like, you've been in a lot of competitions. You've also hosted your own events and stuff here in Orlando. But what was your start in the culture, like even beyond dance?
For me, was when my dad was overseas, stationed in Japan. He's actually he was in the Air Force, and so I grew up a military brat. So when hip hop was introduced to me, I was living in Okinawa, Japan, Air Force Base, and surprisingly, there was b-boys there who would break in the cafeteria after school, and so that was my first introduction to breaking, which led me into hip hop and the culture of hip hop. From there, I met people through breaking, and through there, found out about graffiti, MC, all the 4 elements, and then just met friends who actually taught me what it was, and then learned more about the community in the culture of hip hop. And I feel like that connection with people is how people can tell you their stories and how they learned, hip hop. And I feel like that knowledge being passed down from one person to another is something that I grew up that carries, I believe, like a verbal tradition versus like books or YouTube. In this generation, you can learn anything from YouTube or even Google. So I felt like the people around me that I surround myself with were people from the culture, and that's how I came in as a guest in hip hop.
Growing up, like, was your dad in the Air Force, like from when you were a kid all the way up to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he
So
was. He was.
around a lot?
Yes. So I grew up overseas in Japan for 18 years of my life. So we went to Misawa, Okinawa twice, and then Yokota Air Force Base. So I grew up my whole 18 years of my teenage years. And then he retired. He bought a house in Virginia Beach, and that's where my auntie also resided, and my uncle lives there too. He was in the Navy, and so we had family there. So once we once I graduated, we relocated to Virginia Beach. So it was a huge culture shock from living in Japan overseas on an Air Force base to the United States. So that includes driving on the opposite side of the road, being around, even I would say like the food for starters. I had to mention that, Japanese food, authentic Japanese food is amazing. Of course, ramen and all that stuff. Yeah, so it was that, and then I grew up as the only child, so my friends were my family. For me, when I was in the Air Force Base, there were cliques, but not as cliquish as I would felt it is here in the United States, if that makes sense. Even in, I would say, b-girling, breaking, it felt really cliquish when I first started. But I felt like more welcomed as far as being part of something that is besides my Panay culture and pride, So a lot of learning from that, and being the only child and coming from overseas in Japan, I had to teach myself, check myself, make sure I pay respects to those before me, because all I knew was learning from VHS tapes in Japan, how breaking was. I wasn't really exposed to the culture until I came to the U.S. So it was shocking, intimidating, but yet again, I grew tough skin, and I'm still here. So I have a lot to say.
Now, growing up, like, were you always like exposed or around art growing up, or was that something that only came to you like when you came to the States?
I felt like my mom and dad were very supportive with anything that I wanted to do. So I my dad always encouraged me to draw, so I was able to draw a little bit. So I have that skill set. If I ever want to really, get into it, I feel like that's something that I have potential still. Also, my dad was into music. He always listened to jazz and everything. So I was always listening to those dances that you would have to learn, like the Running Man. So it was like party music I was always around.
Right.
So that music just inspired me to like always have fun. And we always had Filipino parties with electric slide. So I was exposed to that kind of vibe. Yeah. Yes.
Ultra, all that
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Yeah.
So that was my exposure to some type of artist, you know what I mean? Found out that my uncle also breaked when he was younger. So that was part of like, knowing that we do have some artists in our family. And I think the support of my parents gave me a lot of freedom to explore whatever I decided to do. When I was in middle school, I tried wrestling for a little bit, and they were hesitant, but they allowed me to do it. And so I think
How'd that
that,
pan out for you?
well, being I lost interest in it. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a contact sport, and I just felt like with breaking, because I was I was a cheerleader, I did step team. I think anything with music I was more drawn to, where for some reason I was able to create with people. That's being on a cheerleading team, step team, dance team. I always felt like sharing and creating with people was something that was always within me, and being able to create myself within my own craft, and to share that with other people was also more rewarding than any other contact sport or basketball or anything like that.
You being like exposed to art and always around art, like it makes so much sense. Like, just like I said, observing you and like how you move and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like even with your partner, like
Had to mention him.
Yeah, your partner, like he's an actual he's a visual artist.
Yes.
Also makes music and stuff.
Yes.
Is that like something that kind of drew you to your partner at that time?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I would say so. He was a b-boy. We met through breaking, so
Right.
we dated and then got married. Now we're like 16 years this December. We're gonna be married.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, having that in common is something that I felt has it has its pros and cons. We're in our own different journeys throughout that chapters in our lives. Like right now, he's retired. He's not battling. For me, I thought I was gonna retire, but now I'm battling.
Yeah.
And so, but having him understand the process of what it is and what it takes, a lot more understanding, I feel like, comes from him. And then he keeps me also in check with my craft, whenever I feel pressure or whatnot with, battles coming up, he reminds me to just, remember I've been doing it for X amount of time, and to always trust, myself and everything I put the time into.
When that time comes, like, what are your aspirations as far as outside of breaking or like you dancing or battling? Like, I know you're involved in a lot of different things. So, like, what are those aspirations that you want to continue, like, when the time comes,
Yes. So the things I've been building, which has been also part of like my breaking journey, is balancing a lot of the passions that I have for the culture and the community. One of them is being against sexual assault, being against sexual harassment. Every year, I believe that me and the collaboration of Jolene with Defining Movements and other people that we extended the collaboration with Integrity, the Good Foot Collective, we are trying to give advice or just a platform to reach out to help for specific issues like that, because the fight, you got to keep on fighting the good fight. So I feel like even after battling and whatnot, that's something that I will continue to be passionate about, because I feel like being a female community leader, I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna claim that, those things are important, and there are other females out there that are stepping into that light, that need to also have support. Shout out to Rose from Colorado for doing the exact same thing and pushing for B-Girl empowerment. I also am building on my platform called Gen Vision TV, which is something I started back in 2015 when I used to live in Virginia Beach. That was just inspired of just me doing vlogs, like B-Girl problems, the B-Girl perspective, doing interviews. And now it has changed to actually just capturing a lot of moments and footages of breaking and battling, and to, showing that on my platform. And it's been growing organically, and I feel that is also connecting me to the community. as well, because I'm also trying to show people, share people on that platform who don't typically get, their rounds shared on other bigger platforms.
Right.
And I feel like everyone has their own story. Also, Re-Rise Up is also a Filipino motivation and inspiration. It's somewhat has turned into a collective collaboration from Sheroes, and then also from two B-girls from the Philippines, B-Girl Crate and B-Girl Bad, as well as B-Girl Mel and Kara of Flooristas, who are my crewmates. So what are we trying to do is we're trying to actually collaborate with our visions and trying to build a program for Filipino B-girls to come to the United States. So that's what I'm working collectively with Sheroes to also do that. I feel that initiative, as far as putting Filipinos in the limelight of the culture and showcasing that there are many talented Filipinos, B-boys and B-girls, and artists as well, will also share my culture and how I fuse both together, and to help the Philippines also show them their light and their hard work, and just to merge both cultures together. So that's something that I'm always going to inspire to do.
So what we're going to do on the subject of Filipino culture.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have just a couple of like candid questions here. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, if you're hosting a kamayan, you know what a kamayan is, right?
You have to remind me. Is
Kamayan
that the whole
it's
table
it's the
with?
feast where they put the big banana leaf.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And then they
Wait.
have all the food in the
Yes,
middle.
yes,
and
yes.
Everybody's eating with their hands.
Yes.
So you're hosting a kamayan. You're
Okay.
hosting this big Filipino feast.
Yes.
What are the dishes that you're preparing for the kamayan?
Oh my gosh. Lumpia for sure.
For sure.
Pancit. The Filipino spaghetti.
Oh yeah, gotta have Filipino spaghetti.
which is a lot more sweeter with like
With the hot dogs.
yes. So definitely that.
Yeah.
My mom's fried rice. She cooks some bomb Filipino fried rice. So yeah. Oh, chicken adobo.
You gotta have the. I was about
Yes.
to say, if you don't say
Yes.
I'm gonna revoke your Filipino card right now.
Those are, I would say, the main dishes. And I actually like my mom's kare kare. So I don't know if I'm saying it right.
And then the last question here.
Okay.
So the last final question. If they ever made a biopic about your life, your journey through dance, and also the other, philanthropic work that you do, who would portray B-Girl Genesis in the biopic?
I don't even know. Man. It's crazy because that's such a tough question. I don't know why that's such a tough question. I don't know why.
There's got to be some kind of actress out there that would.
I would want it to be like a cartoon, anime.
cartoon?
I would want to be anime. To
Hey,
tell you the
that's fair.
truth,
That'd
like
be dope.
yeah, I would want it to be anime because I'm huge, into anime and everything, and I feel like there's a lot of dope anime,
Yeah.
characters and like just stories that I feel like you could go really creative with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That actually makes the most sense too. Yeah. Any final shout outs that you
Yeah.
want to give out?
Final shout outs, of course, to my mom and dad. And I'm hoping to see them for my birthday this year, and that's coming up in September. So I'll be turning 39 years old. Shout out to, of course, you, Soy, for always pushing, media to a different level and showcasing, the true stories behind the competitors and the battlers and the B-boys and B-girls in a great quality and, of course, way that you always approach things in a professional manner. Shout out to my husband, always been there for me since day one, learning a lot together, and we're always continuing to want to grow within our own craft. And, of course, to my crew. My girls putting in hard work all over the world. So proud of them. Y'all know them. Go follow us.
Yeah,
So
you gotta rep. You see the beat.
yes, go to
You see the
Flooristas.com. You'll find us there. And I'm just shout out to the freaking universe. Shout out to Soul Culture Lido, of course.
you go.
He definitely is the main reason why that I did the breaking tour. Is because he sponsored me for the first few. The last one, I wanted to end it and completely end it and go to all of them, and he made that happen. And so yeah,
Shout out to Lito.
yeah, man,
I love
Lito's
that
been, he's fam, and so he's always accommodating, always believing in me. So without Lito giving me that extra motivation and push, that right there has made a huge difference in my journey. So
too. Heck yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jen, thank you again so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you at Nationals.
Yes. Woo, Billy.